Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
I don't have fun. Fuck you, I'm on peanuts. Hear you.
All right, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. This is Kicking It with Kaz, and I am Kaz. I was absent last week because I had the man flu. But I'm here with Owl, and I think everything's going to be all right. How's everybody doing?
How y'all doing today?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, another beautiful day in paradise, as they say.
Yeah. A little bit on the warm side, but otherwise.
Well, yeah, down where you are, it's your cold is my medium to warm.
True. We had a really, a pretty mild winter. We didn't really have any snow or anything, but this springtime was pretty mild, and summer is kicking so far.
Wow. Well, up here it hasn't actually been too bad. We kind of had a mild winter ourselves, but it's actually been an actual spring coming into summer. We are actually getting the rain that we actually we do need,
mm-hmm.
and it's kind of nice. We're slowly going up to summer.
That's really good. I don't like that. There was like this little I guess a false sense of security
uh-huh.
with how mild springtime was.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, with us, we kind of went back and forth, and well, the old age kind of reminds you that your bones don't appreciate the ups and downs.
Yeah, that hasn't really. That really doesn't bother me. Hot is fine, cold is fine. I prefer to be cold because you can always warm up. With my situation right now, it's just proof that you can't always cool down.
Oh yeah, no kidding. That used to be my big thing. Is people used to sit there and say, "How can you, stand the coldness?" Like, because I can throw layers of clothes on.
Oh yeah.
But I can only strip down so far and be legal.
Yeah, I don't mean to be creepy or nothing, but I'm minimally clothed right now. My air conditioner's broke, so it's just, it's hot. It's hot in the apartment, man.
That's not good.
Yeah, my AC guy came out last week. It was kind of, the AC was acting a little funny.
Yeah.
Where it would stop cooling.
Oh.
And then it would start back up again, like during the night when I'm sleeping. I'd wake up in the morning and it would be, low 70s in the apartment.
Oh, nice.
But it's 80 degrees in the apartment.
Yeah, that's rough.
But I had the repair guy come out, and he's like, "Man, I don't know what's going on." So he changed my filters, and that didn't really need to be changed. And he went and looked at the compressor and goes, "Well, everything's working okay." And then he changed out the capacitor, and he goes, "Well, maybe the capacitor is going bad, and it's not it's not able to hold in the compressor." So I'm like, "Man, you do whatever you have to do." And then he came out with a hose yesterday, cleaned all the vents, and not the vents, the
coiling.
Yeah, all the coiling, and just made sure everything was clean. And then he cooled down the compressor, and the compressor kicked on, and the apartment cooled off. But then as soon as he took the water off of the compressor, it stopped working. So I've got a bad compressor. And he's like, "Man, I got some bad news." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "You need a new compressor. We're probably not going to be able to get one until after Wednesday."
Oh.
I said, "No problem. It is what it is. Do you have a window unit that I can put in?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll be back." So he came back like an hour later.
Yeah.
He goes, man. He goes, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, uh-oh. So he said, you're not the only person that's having an air conditioning issue. All of the window units are loaned out at the moment. He goes, but here's the good news. He goes, I'll give you the keys to our model apartment it's furnished. He goes, if you want to sleep in there, that's fine. You know, crank the air conditioner down as low as you want it. And just, you know, I'll rekey it so it'll be, you know, my apartment key will fit in that door.
Mm-hmm.
But I declined his offer because if I'm not the only person, there's probably a family that would really get a lot more use out of that apartment to keep their family cold.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've got a fan, you know, so I'll just, you know, I got that fan going right on me. It's not, you know, I've been in worse situations. I'm not gonna die.
Yeah, you've been in some hotter situations.
Yeah. I remember in Iraq, you're sleeping in your chew, and you know when that air conditioner stops working, because I worked nights, so I slept during the day.
Oh.
So you know it's 125 or so outside, and the very instant that air conditioner stops working, it's like it's a hot box, man. It doesn't take long at all to wake up in a pool of your own goo.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I myself, what little time I spent over there, I didn't have a whole lot of time of sleep, so I can say I didn't have to sleep in that, but I actually did sleep in desert situation, and it was, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, I mean, we even had air conditioning in our tents.
Oh yeah, they've got to keep you cool, because the one thing is, if you don't sleep, if you have a really bad sleep, it's just going to carry out into your day, and you're not going to be alert.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim, you know, I'm sure right now Cause is thinking about the fact that you're putting up an above ground pool right now, and he probably would like to be soaking in it.
Hey Tim, I'll be over. I'll be over after the show if you don't mind. Yeah, it's hot. It's fine though, man. It's really, life is still good. It sucks. It's just a minor inconvenience, but.
Oh yeah, and see up here right now it's a little humid. We've had storm clouds rolling back and forth, where 1 minute it looks like it's going to rain, the next minute it's all clear. So up here it's kind of back and forth, and like I said, it's actually been a spring. So
that's good, man. You guys have you actually have 4 seasons there.
Yeah, we do, and you know, certain times of the year, you stick around in one day, you're going to see them all.
Yeah, I talked to my mom and dad today, and I was just, it's just I talk to my parents every week just to see how they're doing, and they just built a new house, and they're up in Wisconsin.
Oh wow!
And it's even in the 90s up there.
Yeah, normally Wisconsin gets kind of what we get about 2 to 3 days later. I have a friend in Wisconsin, and that person tells me, okay, what are you getting? Because in 2 or 3 days, we're going to get it. And it holds true. It's usually pretty close. So you can expect that your parents are going to say, yeah, the temperature's dipped. Because we were up in the 90s just a couple of days ago.
It's really crazy, though, because they were out doing yard work last week, and it was 40s. It was in the 40s in the morning, and it warmed up to like the mid-60s.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's 90s, and that kind of temperature up, especially up in Wisconsin, kills people, man. It's just, it doesn't normally get that hot.
Oh, yeah, they don't. I mean, it's like me. You sit there and you talk about your house has to have an AC, okay? Up here, my house, I have 2 portables. I don't need a whole AC, an AC unit in the house, because it's just not worth putting in.
Yeah, it's the same in Montana. I mean, when you build a house up there, they're asking you, do you want an air conditioner? And Texas Cause is going, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm thinking, you really don't need it there. Because even when it does get hot, it's not that hot, and it cools down at night.
Yeah, it does. Here, shoot, last night when I was out camping, let me see, this morning I woke up to 48 degrees.
That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and it got up to about 75 today.
That's perfect.
Uh-huh.
See, we have a listener that lives out in El Paso, and mom's actually out in El Paso as well. And
Yeah.
the houses out there have, I mean, it gets hot as hell, but they have what do they have, what do they call those things? Swamp coolers.
Oh yeah. Excuse me. I've had dealings with swamp coolers in the military.
Mm,
They need the swamp coolers are nice because it also gives you a little bit of humidity. And when you're talking desert situation where it's extremely hot and it's going to be extremely dry. The only downside to swamp coolers is, well,
they smell.
the bacteria.
Yeah.
You know, you can actually get bacteria that can actually become harmful if you don't clean them out on a regular basis. And Taryn says it's 94 there in San Antonio right now.
Yeah, that's a different kind of heat, man, down there in San Antonio. It's almost as oppressive as like Houston or New Orleans.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's sticky.
And see, when I lived in Georgia, when I was stationed in Georgia, I used to, it was so, because of where I was stationed at Fort Gordon, and I know you know the area, you could be riding along and you go down a little dip and you go from hot to cold in a matter of seconds because of the fact of sea level. And it just, I mean, the stickiness, I worked in the hospital. I used to actually have to take my uniform with me and go to the hospital, which was only a block and a half away. Because if I wore it, I would have been drenched because of the humidity levels.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was actually an advisory to a lot of us. Is they said if you can, it would be advisable that you come to work with your uniform off.
Like naked?
No, in other words, you wear whatever makes you comfortable to where you can walk from just the barracks to the hospital.
Ah.
And otherwise, yeah, you would come in and your uniform would be soaked. You'd have stains all in your uniform. And sure enough, within a matter of minutes, of course, you're going to dry out, but you're going to have those stains on your white uniforms.
Right. Even in Iraq was the same way, man. It was you wouldn't really sweat. And all of my clothes that I brought back and then threw away, they were so salt stained. It like ruined anything. But over there, you would there was like no humidity, but it was you wouldn't start sweating until you actually got into an air conditioned room.
Yeah.
And then you just sweat buckets.
Well, and that's some of the stuff that goes on over there. People don't realize, depending on the time of year and where you were mission wise and everything else. I actually know of guys who came back with lung damage because the air is so dry, and then once it hits a certain point, the heat can actually cause lung damage if you aren't breathing through something.
Oh wow, I'd never even realized that.
Oh yeah, knew a couple guys who had straight out they had lung damage from it.
Woo.
And oh yeah, and they were. It was a matter of they were putting stuff over their face. It got to the point where they couldn't breathe through those things, and they were out on mission long enough where they didn't have anything else. And that was it. They had to take them off. And at that point, they're inhaling they're inhaling the heat, but they also are inhaling the particles.
Particles, yeah.
And between the two, between the heat and then what that heat does to those particles, it caused all sorts of damage.
Yeah, we've got a story a little bit later in the show about the burn pits,
Exactly.
and we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I just wanted to let you guys know, and I know you know because you're enjoying a 3 or 4 day weekend. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, and Memorial Day is meant to, I guess, not be celebrated. You don't really go around saying Happy Memorial Day.
No.
It's just meant to, honor those who have died serving the country.
It's meant to memorialize those who have given so that the rest of us have. And yeah, it unfortunately a lot of people forget that, but we don't.
No, I mean it's always Memorial Day, I guess for us here on the show, because it's always about the troops. It's always about our service members, and it's just I don't know. It's always Memorial Day for me, but I guess I don't have words, man. It's just
Well, and I agree. Every day I think of friends. I think of those who I cared about in the service and those who didn't make it out.
mm-hmm.
And as a spiritualist, I have my own way of looking at things, because we made a decision to be a warrior, and a warrior's life is what we carry, and the best honor in our life is to live as a warrior and die as a warrior, for something that we believe in, and for those that served for us to be able to be here now is the best thing that could ever happen in our eyes, because we were there with them and we care about them. Something that we were asked to pass on, and do you mind if I pass it along?
Oh, pass it on.
There is a notice to anyone. You could submit a name to the main page of any fallen brother or sister that you want mentioned, and it will be read on air tomorrow.
Oh, right on.
That was passed along a little bit earlier. I guess that ICE gets that honor.
Yeah, he gets to do Memorial Day. Actually, he gets to do every Memorial Day since it's the last Monday in May.
Yep.
But there's a little bit of history behind Memorial Day.
Yes, there is.
It's a lot, and some of this I did not know, and I'm a bad American for not knowing this. But Memorial Day was first called Decoration Day because of the practice of decorating the grave sites of fallen service members. Let me see. Red poppies are recognized as the Memorial Day flower. On Memorial Day, the flag is flown at half-staff until noon, and then it is raised to the top.
And New York was the first state to officially recognize Memorial Day.
That is correct. And I didn't know this. It's only been a federal holiday since 1971.
And that's interesting because when you think about it, I was born in 1963, and I can't think of a time, going back and thinking back. I mean, we're talking all the space race in the 60s and everything. I can't remember, but I was so young. I can't remember Memorial Day until the 70s. So if you have to wonder, even though it wasn't a federal holiday, if some states still participated before it became a federal holiday.
And it's been around. They've been doing this since the end of the Civil War.
Yeah. Huh. I just us steeped in tradition, us the military. we need to remember things like this. We need to pass it on to our kids, and we need to even remind those who, well, one, who maybe are soldiers, or two, who fellow veterans who just need to remember that it matters, and that we're not just about the picnics and the going out camping.
Yeah, it's not about beer and barbecue.
Exactly.
Now, Memorial Day used to not be celebrated in the South.
Really?
The South refused to honor the dead on Memorial Day until after World War I, when the meaning of Memorial Day changed from them honoring the Civil War dead to honoring Americans who died fighting in any war.
Huh. Well, I guess that makes sense. It's posturing, but I guess I can see the stance. We all have to have our feelings put in.
Mm-hmm. And another, I guess this is my last fun fact of Memorial Day is since the late 1950s, on the Thursday just before Memorial Day, around 1,200 soldiers of the 3rd U.S. Infantry placed small American flags at each of the more than 260,000 gravestones at Arlington National Cemetery. They then patrol Arlington National Cemetery 24 hours a day throughout the weekend to ensure that each flag remains standing.
So at this point, there are 1,200 soldiers of the 3rd Infantry patrolling. So if any of our listeners out there are in the area, go out and say hello to a brother, and go out and thank them for their service and participate.
So, since I was suffering a very debilitating man flu last week,
yes,
that was just horrible. I hardly ever get sick, and I woke up that morning at normal time. It's 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And
yeah.
I just felt funky, just kind of like I was in a rut. So I went swimming in the pool here, and I ate something. I was well hydrated. I was just trying to get out of that funk, and I'm like, man, something's up here. So I went and took my temperature.
Yeah, it was a little high.
It was 102, and then I said, well, I need to get some sleep.
Yeah.
So I slept for about an hour. Then I got up, drank more water, and took my temperature again, and it was 103.1 or something like that. And I'm like, this is getting pretty high. If it goes up to, and I set back. I'm like, okay, at what point do I need to go to see a doctor? So I said, okay, at 103.5. I'm going to go see a doctor because I know 104 is pretty damn dangerous.
Yes, it is.
And energy was just getting sucked out of my body, man. It was just,
no.
I just felt horrible, man.
Uh-huh.
But I was cold. I was freezing. It was, my temp was was 103 something, and I'm just, I took every blanket that I had in my apartment, dude. I even put moving blankets on me.
Oh, jeez.
It was cold. But then it just, the next morning, I slept from like 5 o'clock that night, 4:30 or 5 o'clock that night, all the way until like 8 o'clock the next morning.
Ooh.
So, it was a good solid 15 hours of sleep.
And then you actually woke up better.
I woke up and it was still about like 100 or 99, but I knew the fever had broke.
Yeah.
But I felt like $1 million.
With everything that you've gone through in the last couple of weeks, and it's not my tale to tell. It doesn't surprise me because you were very stressed.
Until I'm in this house, it's just going to be stressful. Even after I close, I close on my house next month, and then I've got like about a month's worth of rehab work to do on the house before I even move in. So I'll probably take a week off of work, and just hit it.
Try to get it done as quick as you can.
Right. Because right now I don't know. If I'm trying to get the refrigerator, but that it's a cheap ass refrigerator, and the lady wants like $750 for it.
Oh god.
And I can go buy a new. I can get a badass refrigerator for like $2,500.
Yeah. You can even get a decent one for around $1,200.
Dude, I'm going down to the Dent and Ding place, man. It's like an appliance. It's an appliance clearinghouse where they have the dented and dinged models.
Oh yeah, we got one up here too.
Just as long as it's stainless.
As long as it's stainless and as long as it runs and has at least a mechanical warranty.
True. Well, I'm going to have a house warranty, and that's all covered in that. So.
Oh, nice. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me as hard as you've been pushing and as the things that were going on. It doesn't surprise me that something like that came up.
Come on, Katie, I was really sick.
I was hoping you wouldn't see that. Katie, behave.
I was really, really sick.
He actually took a picture of the thermometer and we saw this. He actually had a temperature of over 102, Katie. Behave.
You know why I did that? Because it took too much energy to type out, dudes, I'm not feeling it today. I'm sick. My temperature is 102, blah, 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 blah. I just took a picture of the damn thermometer and sent it on.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But it's fine, dude. I don't get sick a lot, and it's been years since I've missed any time away from anything because I wasn't feeling good. So.
Oh, I wasn't worried. We all have our days and we all have our times. I mean, I don't get sick much anymore like I used to. Doesn't mean I still don't have my days. I can still make it here though. I can be crabby as all get out and hurting as all get out. And I will come on and I'll just be crabby with you.
Katie, a poor man baby.
It's probably a good thing Casey isn't here. She'd probably be joining in.
Probably. So there was a wedding.
Oh yeah.
Dale
Okay.
Dale Earnhardt and Alanis Morissette.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I don't know why they called that the royal wedding. I mean, he's just a race car driver and she's a singer, a Canadian singer. I didn't think they had royalty there.
Uh-huh. That was quite the wedding from what I heard.
I heard it was very beautiful.
And that's a good thing. I mean, the what was it? The UK has been looking forward to something like this ever since they lost Princess Di.
Princess Diana, that's true.
I have friends, female type friends who were very much devoted Princess Di fangirls, and just were elated at the thought that this was taking place and they could start watching the UK royals again.
Well, there's, I mean, some, people do care about that stuff. I personally don't. I hope they're, very, very happy. They're a good looking couple. All the best.
Exactly.
But, I didn't, I'm not going to occupy my time with what they've got going on. I mean, congratulations to the bride and groom. But, dude, the memes, and what I should have done is just got a collection of the memes. I know Minx ran a bunch of the royal wedding memes on her show, and it was funny. But there was one in particular that has, congratulations, royal wedding, blah, blah, blah. And it had a picture of Casey Anthony. Because, she's the one that killed her kids.
Oh.
But I guess her and Meghan Markle are kind of doppelgangers of each other.
Yeah, I can see that.
So there's a little bit of a, I guess, some hoopla, some hullabaloo about is she going to renounce her citizenship to become a citizen of the UK.
Interesting. And you know the Queen that was probably something that came up as far as inheritance and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I guess nobody really says anything, but I guess the Queen is quite the hardball player.
And I bet you she drinks whiskey. So the article that I got pulled up says, when Meghan Markle said yes to Prince Harry's proposal, she was agreeing to much more than marriage. Beyond just her new title and new royal duties, she'll also be relocating to a new country, and with that comes a new citizenship. The British royal family announced that Markle intends to become a citizen of the United Kingdom after she marries Harry. There isn't much precedent when it comes to foreigners marrying into the British royal family. The last time an American married into the family, it caused a constitutional crisis. King Edward VIII was forced to advocate the throne to marry his divorced American fiancée, Wallis Simpson.
Yeah, okay. I remember reading about that in history.
Clearly, times have changed, and this American is being welcomed into the royal family with open arms, but there are still a few hurdles that she'll have to jump through, even if she gets a fast pass to British citizenship. Now, just for a commoner in Britain, normally moving to the United Kingdom as an American is no easy task. If Markle was just an American engaged to an average Briton, she would have to apply for a fiancé settlement visa. Her fiance would need to sponsor his other half for the move. And the sponsor must make a salary of £18,600, which is roughly $25,000 a year at a minimum. Harry doesn't need to worry about that because he's loaded. The couple would also have to prove that they are in a genuine relationship and they're not just getting married for visa purposes. And they've obviously proven that.
Yes.
Let's see, she has to have solid knowledge of English. Not a problem since she was born and raised in the United States. Let's see, once that's approved, the couple has 6 months to tie the knot on British soil. Then the foreigner in this situation would have to apply for a marriage visa. That marriage visa lasts 60 months, and then another one after that for 33 months. And finally, after the 93-month period, you apply for an indefinite leave to remain. Once you get that indefinite leave to remain, you'll have 1 year before you can actually apply for UK citizenship.
That's a long time.
Oh, I know. I don't know. It's hard to imagine that she'd have to do all that stuff. I'm sure she has a pretty good S1 office that she can process paperwork through.
Oh, and I think about that, and here they are. She's an American. The whole, they're gonna streamline everything. They're gonna make sure that she gets through. And I think the biggest reason, if you think about it, the biggest reason they probably aren't making as big a deal about him marrying an American at this point is probably because he's the fifth in line.
Yeah, Taryn brought up a good point. He's so far down the line of succession it probably won't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's number 5.
And at that point, I mean, it's gonna the chances of him getting it would be pretty hard. He'd have to basically do that whole everybody's posing for a picture and he's behind the camera and all of a sudden everybody's electrocuted type thing.
Yeah, some pretty bad stuff has to happen for Prince Harry to become King Henry or King Harry.
So at that point, he can have a little bit of fun and he can actually find what he wants and what he's looking for in life. And that's a good thing. So hats off to you, Harry. You met someone pretty good.
She's gorgeous, man.
Oh yeah, and I guess she's got quite the heart, and she's actually a good person. So that's a good thing.
Good for them. Maybe we should buy them some kittens.
As long as you're not in Texas.
Yes, 3 people in Texas were bitten when the kittens that they thought they were handling turned out to be bobcats. First, I'm wondering how.
Believe it or not, if you've ever gone to my Facebook page, I'm always posting cute little kitten pictures and stuff because I like to try to make people smile.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually follow cat stories. And believe it or not, there are a lot of mistakes like that. I find it's actually amusing because when baby kittens, no matter what they are, if they're bobcats or anything, when they're babies, they look like baby kittens. They truly do.
So 3 people in Texas were bitten when the kittens that they were handling turned out to be bobcats. The caretakers thought that the cats were Bengal kittens, a rare domestic breed, and brought them inside a nearby home. The bobcats were fed milk from pet feeding bottles, but those who took care of them realized something was wrong when the hungry animals tore the bottles apart and bit them. Not the bottles, but the human people.
Yeah.
Animal control was called, and Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation took in the cats, and they are in quarantine right now. San Antonio's Animal Care Services is working with the Texas State Parks and Wildlife to investigate the potential criminality of the animals' capture and relocation.
Well, the people were just trying to be nice. I mean, you find a lot of abandoned kittens out during certain times of the year, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And speaking of biting humans,
this next story comes from your neck of the woods, right?
Yup. A cougar killed one person and seriously injured another in a rare attack Saturday in rural Washington state. The victims were mountain biking near North Bend, a foothills town about 30 miles from Seattle, just around 11 a.m. when they realized that a cougar was chasing them. The bikers at first managed to drive the big cat away by making loud noises. One of the bikers also struck the animal's face, causing it to run towards the bushes. But just as they were about to ride away, the cougar came back and jumped on the head of one of the victims.
Dude, you're having a bad day when that happens.
Oh, no kidding, right? And just a little side note, that was the mistake. You never turn away. You back away. The first victim told us that the actual cougar's mouth was around his head. The cougar was trying to shake the victim from side to side. At that point, the other biker got off from his bike and ran away, which caught the cougar's attention. And Abbott said the big cat then released the first victim and chased the other. The victim took off on his bike, and as soon as he looked back, he saw the cougar dragging his friend into the woods. Abbott said the victim rode about 2 miles to find cell reception, called 911, and screamed help into his phone. First responders from fire and sheriff's departments treated the victim, who suffered deep cuts throughout his body. About 2.5 miles away, they found the other victim's bike in the middle of the gravel trail. Further into the woods, they found the victim in the woods den, or the victim, tongue-tied. They found the victim in the cougar's den with the animal on top of him. Abbott said one of the deputies shot the cougar and missed, but the gunshot was enough to scare the animal away. Officers with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife used hound dogs to track the cougar, which was found behind a tree just 80 feet away. The Fish and Wildlife said the area is known for cougar sightings, but the attack was extremely rare.
You know, I wonder if maybe it was either probably extremely hungry or since they might be rabid, or it might have been rabid.
A lot of times, it depends on territory. It depends on season. For all we know, there could have been baby cougars involved. and Mama was, or it just, this is actually spring, and so they're actually coming down looking to eat.
Yeah.
And also, they didn't say if it was male or female. They're starting to look for mates at this point. So they're actually on pretty tense.
They're wanting to get some.
Exactly. So at that point, we get that over on this side where I'm at also, where you get a lot of spottings about this time of year. And the first thing they say is make noise and don't run. Don't turn away from them, back away from them. The minute you turn, that's their sign. They're going to come for you.
They'll pounce on you.
Oh, big time. And here's one that, speaking of Seattle, I found this article, which I think you might find interesting. Mussels off the coast of Seattle test positive for opiates.
Mussels?
Yes. The Seattle area actually has a very big clam, mussels, farming and growing areas. And as more and more American communities grapple with opiate addiction, the human toll of the epidemic is growing. And at this point, Seattle is kind of, I find it humorous, but I find it sad at the same time. This kind of gives you the barometer of the way things are going. The Puget Sound, which is kind of, excuse me, it's part of the ocean, but it's inward. It's in towards land. It's got a lot of islands, so it's kind of it's a sound. They call it a sound. The Puget Sound, they tested 18 urbanized locations around the Puget Sound, and 3 of them, when they were testing the mussels, came back positive for opiates.
Okay, what I'm wondering is how did they get the mussels to pee in the cup?
We can have fun with it. I don't know. Do they take it and squeeze it?
I don't know. Now I'm wondering if this did they just I mean they tested positive for opiates, but maybe an enzyme.
No, actually positive for opiates. What happens is mussels are filter feeders. Okay, so they eat what comes down. They're bottom feeders. So things that can't come out of the sewage and make it into the ocean is what they feed off of. And what's coming out of Seattle's sewage systems after it goes through the Seattle sewer system, which is supposed to be pretty good, they actually tested trace amounts of oxycodone.
How was that getting into the water system? People flushing it, they're dumping it, or
no, they're peeing it. In other words, they pee. It's part of what you pee out. When you pee, if you're on oxycodone, you end up excreting it into the toilet. Well, then the chemicals go down to wastewater, and while more contaminants are filtered out of the wastewater before it's released in the ocean, wastewater management systems can't entirely filter out drugs. Thus, opiates, antidepressants, the common chemotherapy drug melphalan, the mussels tested positive for all of them.
That's crazy, dude.
Isn't it?
See, I know when I lived in Ohio, they have a problem every summer with they call it the algal bloom, which is just this massive bloom of algae in Lake Erie, and that's where the municipal water system is. It's coming out of Lake Erie, and the intake is out there. but that intake gets surrounded by algae.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is so aggressive is because of all the fertilizers. A lot of farmland around, southern Michigan, northern Ohio. So all that runoff brings the fertilizers into the water. The water is like supercharged, and the algae absolutely love it.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
it's toxic. It's toxic. You can't even boil it away. You just it'll go away. Eventually it'll go away, and then they superchlorinate the water. You run your faucet for like 30 minutes, and then everything's fine. But at least once a year, when it gets this hot, and when the wind, it has to be a certain temperature, and the wind has to be from a certain direction. Usually from the north, and it blows all that. It keeps the water toward the shore. Yeah. So it all just kind of it all just stays pretty stagnant, and it actually makes the water toxic to drink. So at least once a year, you're not allowed to drink the water, and then you have to go get bottled water from the distribution centers.
Well, and here's the thought that I was thinking about. Okay, if they're having that kind of problem in the Puget Sound, there are Army and naval bases directly sitting on the Puget Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's getting into and where is the water source for those bases?
We did a story 3 or 4 weeks ago about a very large number, like 200 something bases so far that have tested positive words for EFFF, which is a firefighting chemical.
Yes.
And that's just of the ones that have been tested. That's 200 so far. The testing continues. I know we've had a couple. I mean, even Ross just mentioned it. Contamination from the Naval Air Base. Camp Lejeune is on that list. Fort Hood is on that list. It's like a lot of bases are on that list.
Well, and they're going to be because the part of the drills where there are any kind of aircraft and that helicopters, air bases, whatever, they have to run their drills on fire. So even just the drills themselves, you're going to have that contamination. And then if there's any kind of actual real fire, you're going to have contamination. Yep.
And we just installed a brand new EFFF system in the hangar that I work in.
Wow.
And it's very effective, but it's very, very toxic.
Yeah, and now you talk about this, and now you talk about the fact that we've got some bases sitting on the Puget Sound that they're proving that the marine life is absorbing OxyContin. So you have to wonder how that's affecting the area, those areas that our bases are at, on top of everything. Because I know for the Whidbey Island is one of the was actually mentioned in the article, and then I know that a couple other bases are in the surrounding area, and there are bases on those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Right on, Jamie. JBLM is on that list too.
Yeah. So you have to wonder, at this point, what is the military doing? Are they testing now, I guess, for the opiates?
Well, it's not just the it's not just the bases that are contaminated. It's the surrounding communities that are contaminated.
Exactly. So you've got, not only do you have the foam from using for fires, but now you've got the possibility that because of the interesting life of Seattle and surrounding area, you may actually have oxycodone in your food and in your water. Think about that.
It would be interesting to see if people just, who spend a lot of time on the water
Yeah.
would end up testing positive for some sort of opioid.
Or worse yet, doesn't even have to. If they like clams, mussels, okay, and they're eating them, okay, and they're showing up with amounts of oxycodone in them.
Yeah, I'm not thinking you're going to get high from eating mussels, but
No, but what's that going to do as far as is that going to show up in your blood? You don't have to get high for it to still show up.
that is true.
And then how's that going? What's that going to actually do to the marine life? Is that going to be an alter? Is that going to cause them to alter?
What to morph into?
Well, anytime with marine life or any kind of biologic change, ecosystem change, there's always a reaction. Some of the ecosystem adapts and some doesn't. Those that don't die off. Those that do, what do they become and how's it change their system? And how's that affect us?
Yeah, I bet you it would. I mean, they wouldn't cease to become mussels. They would just their genetics are going to change.
Exactly. It's the same thing that in my area where I'm at, they actually they have problems because of heavy mining up in the mountains for gold.
Well, they get a lot of mercury.
Yes, there's a lot of mercury along with some other stuff that got dumped into the rivers, and the rivers come down to where we are, and you have to worry. There's actually a fishing limit for health purposes out of certain rivers where you're only allowed to have 3 a year. Anything over 3, and you may end up with a toxic level in your own blood system.
Like three fish
Yes.
a year.
Yes.
No way.
Yes. It's it depends on which river.
Does that?
How-
I guess that would affect steelhead. I mean, steelhead is huge up in that area. Steelhead fishing.
It affects all fish. It depends on where you are located on the river, what tributary it is to which river, and how close it is to where the drain off was.
So I think that we ought to start like a GoFundMe, and start like a Just Say No campaign for the fish.
Yeah, I'm sure they would appreciate it because it's not like they have a say-so right now.
I mean, you gotta be, addiction is really horrible, man. I mean, it breaks up families, and we don't want to see all these fish families all broken up and stuff.
You're right.
Open up some rehabs for fish and mussels.
They've already got the schools. We just need to teach.
I see what you did there.
We could teach the schools.
That's right.
I know, corny.
I think we're onto something. Okay, we're going to put a pin in this and revisit it. I think it's a really good idea.
I think so too. It may sound silly, and we're jesting about it, but one, it's our bases with the foam, and two, we do have bases around and this is just Seattle they're noticing. Okay, now we know that Seattle is a microcosm. I mean, it's not as big as a lot of other cities out there, so you have to wonder, has anybody tested the where people are getting water for the big cities, because they have to go through the same kind of refineries and they reuse that water.
Yeah, we just got, and I need to download it. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
And every year we get a water report. It just tells you, yay, the water is safe, or here's our concerns, and this is how we're going to not mediate. I'm looking for a word.
Filter and clean up.
Yes. Those weren't the words that I was looking at. Not remediate. I can't think of it. I'm dumb today. Anyway, it's just mitigate. That's the word. ways that the city's going to mitigate the contaminants that are in it. And there's usually fertilizer. And if you read further down the list, and it's like, you know, 0.2 parts per billion of fecal matter, which is just, there's poop in my drinking water. But, you know, it's been so long since I've really had a drink of tap water. I mean, even at work, it's we have these, you know, it's big bottled water.
Oh yeah.
And here at home, I use a Brita filter. I filter everything.
Same here. Same here.
Because I don't. It's I don't trust the water. Doesn't matter where I'm at.
Well, you know, when we're talking about water, where I'm at, they have the highest rate of MS in the United States.
Like the Mexican gangs?
No. Actually, multiple sclerosis. They have the highest rate of multiple. I think it's multiple sclerosis in the U.S.
So it's like a cancer cluster, but it's MS.
Yes. And but at the same time, we've got a very high rate of lead and mercury in our water.
Dude, lead is nothing to mess around with, dude.
I know. See, as soon as I moved up here, I bought filters because I heard about it.
It's crazy. Any house before 1984 has the no, is it 84 or is it 78? Well, one of those 2 years. But there's, you know, you have to have a lead paint disclosure. Either it's been remediated or however it's taken care of.
Yeah. And I live in one of those houses.
Don't eat the paint chips, bro.
You know, I get hungry and I look at those walls and think, that just looks good.
Well, you go, you turn to your wife and you go, hey, babe, how about some chips, yo?
Yo, you know, hey, they're coming off. Why not, right?
It's like a tree, man. It just keeps on giving.
Uh-huh. But no, I the more and more I have to wonder with where you're at, and I know that they have drug problems. Do they disclose? Do they test, just like they have here or up over in Seattle? Do they test the water for that type of thing?
I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I'm going to download probably tonight or tomorrow, and because I've been meaning to look at it. I look at it every year, but I'll read the report and I'll see what the substance of it is, and I'll give you a summary.
Because I'd be curious, because sometimes they'll tell you what they test for, but they don't tell you what they don't test for.
Yeah, sometimes it's what they don't tell you.
Exactly.
Is more intriguing than what they do tell you.
Exactly, and that would be more of my question. Or are they checking?
My ex-wife, it's we'd have a discussion. I can't say we ever fought, but we would always have pretty in-depth discussions about usually my behavior and things that she thought I wasn't doing, and
of course
behavior she wanted to change of mine. So we'd have a discussion, and then she'd always end it with, what aren't you telling me?
Jeez.
It was very strange to be married to a psychologist.
Oh, no kidding, right? The silly part is I actually used to work with those guys, and I used to have fun because I'd turn their games on them.
It wasn't a game. I was just a dumbass. What aren't you telling me? Fuck, it's a trick question. I don't know what I'm not telling you.
But it's just that. And you have to understand, when you actually get into psychology, some things are actually games that you play, and you may not see it as a game, but they do. It's a game that they actually learn to play to get stuff even when it's not forthcoming.
She treated me like a puzzle.
Yes. Yes, she did. And it's pretty crappy what she did to you.
Oh. God, we got to take a break. But I just found out today that she just got remarried.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, her husband is such a... I don't judge. I really, I'm not a judgmental person, but this dude is. He looks creepy, and it kind of looks like he just moved out of his mom's basement.
Oh, he's moldable.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of. No, I don't know. I mean, congratulations to her. I really, really hope she's happy. I just found out today only because my brother's wife is still friends, I guess, on Facebook.
Okay.
With her, and she's like, she sent me a text with a bunch of pictures. She goes, "Did you know about this?" And I'm looking at it, and no, she flew to Vegas with her man, and they got married.
Oh, I could give you some jokes to really lay on it anytime you get in a conversation. The fact that she went to Vegas says all sorts of things.
I don't. I've got no hard feelings.
No.
We have a good. I think we get along better now than we ever did. So.
Well, that's a good thing. That's always good, especially since I know you've got children from her. So.
Yes, 2 beautiful kiddos. All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a break here for a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back. I'm going to play a song. It's for Memorial Day. It's very emotional. It's an awesome song. It's called The Last Monday in May. Ice, on tomorrow night's show, on the Monday edition, the Memorial Day edition of the Monday edition, he's actually got a video that goes with this song. So he's going to have some badass stuff. He always does really great stuff. But anyway, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay around.
Shots.
This is Eric Stolhansky, and you're listening to WTF Nation.
U.S. Army WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everybody, clap your hands. All right, we're back. It was a short break.
Good music.
Love it. It's good stuff, man. You can catch this guy. His name is Davey 504. He's a pretty badass bass player. So he does all kinds of bass videos.
Nice.
It's really, really awesome. Very, very talented young man.
Definitely. Nice.
Always like listening to him. He makes some everything that he makes. He does like Mario. He does like the Mario theme, and he does.
Ooh.
He really he does a lot of really, really cool stuff. So check him out, Davey 504. I use him a lot for bed music. Anyway, the first song that I played was called "The Last Monday in May," and that's that was sung by Ward Davis from Operation Song. We had him on. It was a Tuesday show with Minx, and he gave us permission to use his music. So that's. I thought it was poignant to play that song, because tomorrow is Memorial Day, and we need to remember our fallen brothers and sisters. It shouldn't be a sad day, man. Celebrate their lives, celebrate their sacrifice.
Exactly. Those who served, those who came home, and those that didn't come home. Those that didn't come home, let's toast them for their life. And those who did come home but left a part of themselves there, let's celebrate the fact that they made it. And let's do what the name of the day is. Let's memorialize and remember.
Hell yeah. Shots. So, President Trump. Can't have a show without talking about President Trump.
Ah, the fun.
Love him. I see KC just popped in, so she can give me a hard time for being a sufferer of the man flu last week. Love you, Casey. Anyway, President Trump was in the news. a lot of these stories that I'm doing are actually from last week. I did show prep. I wanted to do a show, but was not feeling good.
You were having a really hard time with yourself on that one.
Yeah, I think I'm giving myself a hard enough time. So anyway, President Trump is donating or has donated his first quarter salary to the Department of Veterans Affairs. To put that in numbers, that's $100,000. President gets paid $400,000 a year. Plus, he has expense accounts and other things. I'm not sure how that falls into things, but if he has a $400,000 salary, a quarter is 4 months out of the year, so that's 1/4 of $400,000 is $100,000. So, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders presented a check from the president to the VA Secretary Robert Wilkie during the White House briefing. Trump has pledged to return his entire salary to the federal government, and he has used the symbolic check handover quarterly to highlight his administration's policy efforts. He's not the first president to do this.
No,
He's not the first president to donate his salary. JFK donated his salary, and Herbert Hoover also donated his because they were wealthy before they got into the presidency, so they donated their salary as well. But it's good to it's really good to he said he was going to do something, and he did it.
he's holding up to what he said he would do. He's actually showing that what he says, he does. And I have to respect that.
Love him or hate him, there is no ambiguity with him.
No. He holds to his word, and if he's not holding, it's only because others are getting in his way.
Yeah, and he wasn't really in past elections. I've always had that's my guy. Mm-hmm. He was never really my guy. He's my guy now because I really like what he's doing.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think I voiced it once or twice. I like the fact that he's willing to go away from the bureaucrats, to push away and say, this is what the people brought me here for, and so I'm just going to go ahead and keep my promise, whether you like it or not.
The news has been very, very fluid as far as Kim Jong-un in North Korea and the summit that's on again, off again, on again, off again. I didn't pull any stories, but I'm as far as I know, and from the news stories that I've read, is the administration is moving forward as though this summit is going to happen in Singapore.
Yeah, he, as much as President Trump has said right now it's off, they're moving forward as though it's on because there's still negotiations. There's still negotiations behind the scene that people aren't a part of, that the news media has no understanding of, and which is the way it's got to be. It's
kind of comical to watch. It's embarrassing because everyone's rooting on him to fail.
Oh yes,
but he can't stop winning.
And that's the fun part about that. ICE likes to say everybody, everything's burning. I like to say everybody's hair's on fire. It's fun to watch in the fact that everybody is trying so hard to be so negative because they're so embedded in what he likes to call the swamp that the fact that he's dismantling it so easily, and they're doing it themselves. I mean, it's you're right. It's comical. It is hilarious. It's sad because we let it get this far, but the fact that an outsider, nobody wanted this man in, and now the people who wanted him in, the people who saw him for what he was, good for them, because what they basically have done is they put in someone in who is doing exactly what he said he'd do. He's putting some pride back in America. He's he's making it so there's no longer the vacuums of power in different parts of the globe that are out of control. He's trying to rein it all in for us.
I really, I'm not going to be an apologist. I don't think he has anything to apologize for. I don't think that he's been doing anything that's untoward or against the benefit of the United States and the American people. I think everything that he's doing is rooted in what is good for the United States.
Yeah, and if you look at him, every time, I mean, everybody has tried to sit there and say, oh, he's in collusion, he's trying to hurt us, he's trying to do all these things. They're demonizing so hard. When you see people, your wife's psychology, me working where I work, when you see someone pushing so hard to set a line on someone,
they're like betting on him to fail, and he just keeps on winning. And I'll bet you they I think their alcohol consumption has probably increased tenfold.
Oh, I'm sure alcohol and drug. At this point, they're taking the Valium. They're taking whatever they can get their hands on because their blood pressure is probably through the roof. And everything that they were betting on, everything that they were hoping for, is slowly starting to go away. They're still trying to hold on to the fact that they can beat him in 2020. And they're all betting on the midterms. They said the midterms are going to declare it all. If the midterms, they can get enough people to take over either the Congress or the Senate, meaning the liberals, at that point, they're gonna win against Trump.
President Trump is holding his cards close to his chest, which is fine. But do you think he'll run for re-election? There's even, like, Flake said that he would run against President Trump in 2020, and he encourages his Republican colleagues to do the same.
What I think is going to happen is Trump will run if he doesn't feel like he accomplished as much as he wanted to,
or if he's on a roll.
No. I think it comes down to he made promises. At this point, it's going to be, if he's going to run again, it's going to be because he didn't accomplish as much as he wanted to, or he's at that point worried that what he's accomplished still isn't concrete enough to where it can't be dismantled.
True. I seem to, I'm of the same belief, but it has a lot to do with my hang up is the border wall. I'm thinking that if that border wall is not built, and it's not going to be built in 2 years, I think he's going to have to at least run for re-election. Because if he does not run, or if he is defeated by either a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, weirder things have happened, everything with that border wall is going to come to a screeching halt.
Oh yeah, it will get defunded. That.
Because right now, even with the EPA,
oh yeah,
they have tunnels that have been compromised by our border patrol.
Yep.
So typically, what they do is they fill them with concrete.
Yep.
And let that be that. But now the EPA is set in, and they're actually throwing a wrench into the machine, saying that no, you can't, because you can't fill that with concrete because of some obscure spotted owl, no pun intended, some kind of the fish is going to die because you fill that tunnel with fucking cement.
Well, and the sad part is the EPA wouldn't be his problem if it wasn't for the fact that the guy he put in charge of the EPA got in that whole scandal with how he spent money.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's because right now he's embedded in that. He can't stop the people that were appointed from Obama. They couldn't stop. He can't stop them because at this point he's too embedded with dealing with the scandal.
You would think that being in charge of the EPA is very apolitical. It doesn't matter if you're serving under a Democrat or a Republican president. The EPA has a mission statement. Fulfill that mission.
Well,
But it's everything has become so political. It's disgusting to me. It makes watching the news unpalatable because it's just all the bitching and complaining.
well, exactly. I mean, FBI. I mean, come on. The FBI is supposed to be the protection of us. It's supposed to be the protection. Federal Bureau of Investigation. They're supposed to take care of things that go from state to state, across borders, and anything that happens in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cut and dry. It's not about politics. It's not about doing the gotcha stuff. Nothing. But if you talk to FBI agents who are the field agents, the regular guys, they're pissed off about the whole stuff that's going on with their higher echelon.
Ryan's got a really good point. He just posted, he says, I don't think anybody truly wants him to fail, but he's got a less than pleasant bedside manner that turns people against him.
Yeah, okay.
And that's really a good point. I think, President Trump's a businessman, and everything is truths. And it either is or it isn't. There is no gray area. And he will tell it like it is. At least in his opinion, this is the way things are. He gives the marching orders, or this is my goal. We're going to accomplish this. He's not a politician.
No, he's a
negotiator. He's a negotiator. He's a CEO.
And when you do stuff like that, you have to have a little bit of cockiness if you're going to pull off any negotiation. And you have to have the ability to read people, and you have to have a strength. And people don't like the fact they think he's cocky. Well, he's cocky because he's been in the situation, and he's probably sitting there laughing to himself going, yeah, I've dealt with this before.
Yeah, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. This is how I dealt with it before. So
exactly. So to sit there and think that, okay, he's arrogant. I don't. When I watch and you watch his tweets, when you watch his mannerisms and everything else, I don't even think it's arrogance. I think it's just confidence because he's earned it. He's been in the trenches. He's had to deal with all sorts of stupid bureaucrats who will get in his way, who will come up with every single rule they possibly can, and he still managed to keep to his word.
And there's so much, bad news out there. There is some good news. I did not pull that story, but he was at the Naval Academy's graduation.
Yeah.
And he stood up on stage and he shook every graduate's hand.
And that's just it. And I give it to him. He actually is, and this word has been used in your or my lifetime before. He's a man of the people. He actually cares about the people.
Yeah, I agree with your last statement there, Mr. Ryan. Thank you for joining, by the way.
It's good to see all of you, actually.
I really was. I was like, either there's going to be people here or there's not going to be anybody here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a holiday, and even though, yes, it's supposed to be more memorialization, hey, it's a holiday, and all sorts of activities are going on, and the fact that you guys are showing up, we thank you for showing up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people travel for the holiday. You get a 4-day weekend, man. You're gonna go do something with the family if you're a single soldier, or
just single,
or just single. Because we do cater to the military because I think most of us are either active or former military, but we do have a lot of civilians that hang out and participate with us.
We might as well say civilians and spouses and ex-spouses.
And we love you too, Casey. Thank you for hanging out.
Oh, here's one for you, Casey. I want, because you're such a staunch proponent of Wisconsin, I thought of you when I saw this. If you don't mind, I'm going to do this article just because, and I was thinking of Casey when I pulled it up.
Velveeta has actually been called real cheese. Was it that story?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Guinness record-breaking toilet paper pyramid built in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's something to be proud of.
A paper company teamed with a newly opened store in Wisconsin to break the Guinness World Record for the tallest pyramid made of bath tissue. Toilet paper manufacturer Kimberly-Clark and the new MEIJER store
Meyer.
in
It's called Meyer.
Meyer Grand Chute teamed up Wednesday morning to build the 14-foot, 3.75-inch pyramid out of 25,585 rolls of toilet paper.
That's a lot of toilet paper, dude.
The Guinness adjutant visited the store Thursday and verified the 11,527-pound pyramid bested the previous record holder, a 13-foot, 5-inch toilet paper pyramid constructed from 23,821 toilet paper rolls.
That's not that big.
Brazil.
That's really not that big.
No.
I mean, it's a lot. It's like a lifetime supply of mountain money, but
Well, Casey, I don't know what happened to the rolls of toilet paper, but I don't think anybody's going to have to worry about pooping in Wisconsin for a little while.
at least in that family.
At least in that grocery store.
Was that a grocery store that did that, or was that a person?
That was a grocery store.
It was a grocery store? Okay, cool.
So it was a promotional for their grand opening.
Oh, I see.
So there you go, Casey. Wisconsin is on the map for more than cheese.
Something else to be proud of.
Exactly.
Wisconsin is so awesome. Why is it awesome? Because they've got the Guinness World Record for shit paper stacking. But you know who has some bragging rights is I think it's the state of Washington again. You've got a really strange part of the country, man.
Oh, tell me about it, dude. Don't I know it?
Where's my graphic? I'm trying to pull my graphic up for this. Trump salary, flying guns. Here we go. Flying guns. A flying gun became lodged in a passing car along Interstate 5 near Lakewood on Wednesday.
I read that article too, and I knew if I would have said something, you would have said, "Yep, Washington State."
The driver was headed south when he saw a black object in the air strike the front of his car. The driver said it didn't seem to make a big impact on his car, and he didn't get any warning lights, so he just drove on. He pulled over about 18 miles later to put in some gas, and he noticed that there was a handgun lodged in his front bumper. Driver called 911 like any responsible. I don't know, man. There's two sides, two kind of people that would.
Yeah.
Either they go fuck yeah, and they'd keep it, or you dial 911. I would probably dial 911 because this is really, really odd. The driver did call 911, and he was he says, "This is so strange, but I believe I struck a firearm and it's still stuck in the front of my vehicle," he said to the 911 operator. So troopers came to the scene and they retrieved the gun, eventually turning it over to the Lakewood police. It appears as though it was an attempt to get rid of evidence because there was a shooting nearby where the gun was tossed out into traffic.
Yeah. And sadly enough, that objects get thrown over onto the interstates more often than you would think. So.
Well, you'd think you'd throw it over, like if you're trying to get rid of a gun, throw it into a river or something.
Well, exactly, unless he's actually running at that very moment. And if he's running at that very moment and that's the location he's at, he's not near any water.
True.
I actually know kind of those locations from when I was actually stationed at Fort Lewis and Lakewood. When you're if you're talking near the interstate, there's no water, no nothing that you could have thrown it in that would have been
Beneficial.
beneficial. He was probably hoping that the gun would be crushed.
Yeah, I guess. That he just freaked out and threw the gun.
Yeah, because if you read the article, it also said that there wasn't a magazine in it.
Oh.
And so the guy got rid of the magazine and then got rid of the weapon, probably hoping that being the two were apart, that it wouldn't he wouldn't get caught. And had the magazine been in, if you look at the way that thing is lodged, you have to wonder if there would have been a chambered round, what would have happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Guns can go through some pretty bad abuse before that hammer falls.
Yeah, you're right. You just never know. It depends on the manufacturer. 'Cause
Unless it's a SIG.
Uh-oh. Are we going to see the rumble in here? Is there anybody in here who's going to start it?
Oh, probably. All right, guys, here's a very important issue, especially if you were deployed overseas and were in the vicinity of burn pits. There is a chance that that the lawsuit against KBR for their burn pits is going to become active again. On May 9th, a federal appeals court heard oral arguments in the case about an explosive issue among U.S. veterans, the widespread use of burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan as a potential health consequence to our veterans. The case, which dates back to 2008, consolidated dozens of lawsuits by hundreds of veterans and their families seeking to recover damages from the military contractor KBR. But a trial court dismissed all of the charges back in July of 2017. Al, if you could put that link. There you go. Thank you, sir. But I'm going to pin that. The plaintiffs accused KBR of negligence for exposing them to toxic emissions from open-air trash fires known as burn pits, which they said causes respiratory, neurological, and other health problems.
Yep.
In tossing the case last year, the trial court accepted KBR's argument that the American military made the decision to use burn pits to dispose of trash on bases, and that federal courts cannot second-guess the executive branch's wartime decisions. That is a real gray area.
Very.
It's almost like following a bad order.
Well, and it comes back to you remember hearing about things like Gulf War syndrome and stuff like that,
Right.
Okay. Some of Gulf War syndrome is a conglomeration of different problems that came up during the Gulf War. One of them being, and some people don't realize, when people went through the oil fields, oil, just like burn pits, what is it? It's actually you can actually get aerosol fuel in the air or aerosol toxins in the air from your burn pit. Well, oil, just like in the Gulf War, was aerosoled, and it gets into your lungs. When it gets into your lungs actually will distribute that in oxygenated form and take it and distribute it to your muscles,
To every cell in your body.
Exactly. And how your body reacts because it's a toxin is always the question. And that's the reason Gulf War syndrome was so hard to figure out, because not only did you have the oil fields, but you also had the possibility of exposure to biological and chemical weapons. So you didn't know which thing was coming up. The guys who actually were oil fields, they could sit there and tell you, yeah, I remember going through the fields and seeing nothing but black and putting my bandana over my face, not realizing the bandana wasn't good enough.
You know, I when I was in Iraq, I was in Kirkuk. I was in Mosul for a while, but most of my time was in Kirkuk. Just north of our airfield, there was a refinery. And I was in Kirkuk for about a year. I'll bet you 10 months out of that year, they were burning off methane.
Oh yes.
So there was a fire. It was controlled, but dude, that whole time, that's all you smelt was oil.
Yes.
We didn't really get the smoke from the fire, but there was a lot of it. Just everything smelled like petroleum. My clothes, my body, everything, the entire base smelled really bad.
And believe it or not, it's not uncommon for that to actually. You got to remember, your skin breathes for you also. And if it's in your clothes, that means that your skin actually breathed it in also. And if there was any toxins in that air, it means not only did your lungs take it in, but so did your skin.
And it's a lot deeper than actually just being in the area. There's pictures in this article that have troops driving bulldozers
Yes.
into burning pits, and they're piling up all the trash again so it can get reburned, and there's fucking fire and smoke, and a soldier driving this this bulldozer doesn't have any PPE on.
No. And see, the only thing that I've always had my problems with the way the military handles some of this stuff, because I was in during the Gulf War. I had people calling me and asking me some advice on some stuff, and the first thing I said is, I don't care what they're telling you, put on a mask, because the likelihood, if it doesn't smell right, and if you can actually taste it on your tongue, it means it's getting into your lungs.
Now the link that Al posted and that I pinned is for the Burn Pit Registry. So far, there's a total. If you click on that link, you'll see it. It's a link to the VA website for the Burn Pit Registry.
This is
140 and some change thousand people have signed up and registered themselves.
This is very important. Understand, because I'm older and I was part of the Gulf War stuff. Guys sat there and it took time, but they actually finally got their symptoms, their problems acknowledged by the VA, and they started receiving compensation and help. This is going along that same line. So you need to get your name in there. You need to rattle the cage, because if you just are complacent and you sit there and say, it's no big deal. Wait until you get my age. That stuff's going to come back. If you were close enough to those burn pits, you need to get registered. Just because it may not be causing you problems now, it doesn't mean it won't cause you problems later.
Right.
And
when you read the instructions on that, when you click on that link, it takes you to the VA website, and it says it takes about 40 minutes to fill out that paperwork, and there's a questionnaire. Don't let that discourage you. If you have been exposed and you have not registered, please take the time. Take 40 minutes out of your life. Please register. It's not guaranteeing compensation, but at least you're registered.
And understand, guys, remember, this is what the Gulf War syndrome guys had to go through after the first Gulf. It did not, it did not happen right away. It took a lot of people rattling a lot of cages, saying all the truth, getting out there and actually saying something before any action was took, and finally they acknowledged that it was a problem and they started dealing with it. They count on the fact that you're not going to do a damn thing and that you're going to be discouraged by that 40-minute application. They count on it.
Yeah, there's some statements issued. It says the military bases in the United States. The military bases the United States maintained for 8 years in Iraq and 17 years to date in Afghanistan were hardly Spartan encampments. There was air-conditioned stores, fast food restaurants, movie theaters, internet cafes, and swimming pools. Soldiers bunked in prefabricated trailers and dined in spacious chow halls, serving up hot square meals 3 times a day. All consumption produced garbage, and lots of it, which somehow had to be disposed of. The solution was dump it into open-air pits, drench it in jet fuel, and light it on fire. On the largest bases like Camp Victory in Baghdad, Anaconda near Balad, perpetual smoke, I'm going to say that word means smoke, lingered over the tents and the trailers, reeking of burnt plastic. The effect, worsened by the extreme heat, could be nauseating until 2010 when the Department of Defense banned burn pits. Soldiers complained of coughing up black gunk. Thousands came home from deployment with some kind of respiratory illness, mostly mild or moderate, but included career-ending lung diseases and fatal cancers. Former Vice President Joe Biden has speculated that his son died from burn pit exposure. Beau Biden had received a rare brain cancer diagnosis in 2013, and at the age of 44, 4 years after his deployment in Iraq, he died. So it's important. It may be nothing, but just take the time. Fill out the form.
Take the time, take care of yourselves, and remember, there's going to be discouragement, but you have to advocate for you. Be an advocate for you.
No one's going to look out for your ass, except for you.
Nope. I can attest to that. I went through a lot of stuff my own self, and the only person I could rely on to make sure that I found the people I was supposed to was by getting through myself. And right now, the guys who are going through this, again, you may sit there and say, "Oh, it was nothing. I still feel fine." Had a friend. He had gone through the oil fields. And he came back. He said he felt fine. He was actually a big muscular guy. After about 3 years, he started losing weight and started having lung problems. It doesn't always come right away.
You know, I tend to forget that we're on more platforms than just Facebook Live. We are on Mixer. We are on YouTube, and these links aren't appearing there. I will give you the link. Hit up if you go to WTF Nation Radio on Facebook. Send us a message, and I will give you the link. Or maybe we can make a post that broadcasts this web address to the VA in the burn pit registry. There's a lot of folks right now that are driving. I mean, hell, it's the weekend, and they're listening on the TuneIn app. Much appreciated.
Yep. And I apologize. I had started to try to get into being Facebook, Mixer, and all those while we were broadcasting, but then Windows decided to update on me and lost all my links.
No way.
Yes. Windows has been doing some major updates over the last couple weeks. And people have been losing stuff, and I was luckily enough, I do understand computers, and luckily enough, I have friends who work in computer stores, and the stuff that's coming out, drivers are getting knocked out, links are, my whole, my browser, all my links on the computer that I use to go into the different rooms, every single link was gone.
And we have a pretty badass technical support staff here at the station.
Yes.
Next story. Yeah. I don't have a graphic for this because I ran out of time. So I'm just going to go back to the regular graphic. But there was a shooting at the Santa Fe High School in Texas. 10 students were killed. Santa Fe High School administrators have been notified that Houston Texans defensive end J.J. Watt will personally pay for the funerals of all of the victims of that shooting. It's not the first time J.J. Watt has actually stepped up. He's really a badass humanitarian, and I totally appreciate it. I'm not a Houston Texans fan. I'm a Dallas Cowboys guy. But Yeah, J.J. Watt actually last year was on like a humanitarian of the year. Dude gives so much of his time and effort and money to great causes. He, hurricane relief, not just for the hurricanes that hit Texas, but like all over the place, Puerto Rico and everything. But anyway, he's offered to pay for every one of the students' funerals.
Okay.
So I thought that was noteworthy and worth mentioning.
Yeah.
There are good people still around.
They haven't all been driven away. There's a lot of good people in America. It's just they're the majority, and the minority get loud. The minority of people who aren't necessarily good people are the ones that everybody sees because that's what gets reported on.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of good people out there, and we want to remember that.
Another story I wanted to hit on, since we're entering the midterm election season.
Yes.
We just had our primaries, and actually here in my particular area, they had runoff elections. So that happened. I mean, we've got Lupe Valdez, which is trying to unseat Governor Abbott here in Texas.
Yes.
And her claim to fame is she was the first Latina police chief in Dallas. She's a lesbian.
Okay.
So those are her
platforms.
That's her platform. A little bit of background investigation showed that she owes tens of thousands of dollars in back property taxes. She owns 6 houses, and she's delinquent in paying her taxes. But anyway, the voting season. But American democracy has a problem. It has a voting problem. According to a new study of the U.S. Census data, the United States of America has more registered voters than actual voters that live there. It's a troubling fact that puts our nation's future in peril. The data comes from Judicial Watch's Election Integrity Project. The group looked at data from 2011 to 2015 produced by the U.S. Census Bureau's American Community Survey, along with data from the Federal Election Assistance Commission. A bunch of number crunchers got out there, and they said that there are some 3.5 million more people that are registered to vote in the United States than are actually living in that area. Such staggering inaccuracy is an invitation for voter fraud. So they're saying there's 3.5 million more voters than actual
people actually living.
Than actual people, yeah. And I remember when President Obama was reelected. I lived in Wood County, Ohio.
Yes.
There were 20 or 30,000 more votes cast than people that actually lived in the county.
Yeah.
Columbus was the same. I think Cincinnati was the same. Totally more. There were more people that voted that actually were living there. The voter totals exceeded the actual population of the counties.
And that's just it. With voting season coming up, people, we need to start remembering, one, we need to vote. But, at what point do we start? We have the ability as veterans. We need to start pushing for reform of the system, getting people. There are states where you get actually voter IDs. You can't just show up and say I'm voting. You actually have to register. We need to clean up the system because it's being taken advantage of. And at some point, when does our democracy become challenged? There was a lot of hoopla especially after this last election, where they sit there and everybody says, well, Hillary won by a popular vote, and so Trump is not really our president, and but when she won by 3 million, and they can sit there and say, well, but there is a good chance that there's a lot of illegals that are voting, and I know for a fact because I at one point lived in Colorado, where there were actual senators and congressmen encouraging people who were not of legal status in the United States. They were encouraging them, telling them how to get away with voting illegally. And it goes on now to today in such a big demand. You can almost just sit there and say, all right, fine. We know we're going to, we know this state's going to vote this way and this state's going to vote this way because, well, they're overwhelming the numbers on purpose. They're trying to kick out democracy. They're trying to kick out what made us what we are. And we need to stand up for what we are. And it comes, the backbone has to come from us, the veterans, because most people will sit there and say nothing. The people who do say something are usually radicals, and you don't necessarily want them on your side.
Yeah.
I mean, and I live in a city where, I live beside a city. The actual main city is actually conservative, but it's run by a bunch of liberals. And they can't seem to get them out of office.
California is going through the same issue.
I mean, you sit there and you look at the way they vote and you talk to them, and they're sitting there and they say somehow they're managing to get just enough people in there that the city council is overwhelmed by liberals and extreme liberals. I mean, of all things, I live in a city that's it's a common sense. The main city beside us, my parents, my mother grew up in that city, and it was always common sense. It's one of those places that never figured out that it grew up. It was always a very down to earth place. And all of a sudden they're doing things like spending, get this, I think it's in the $5 million for some stairs that go nowhere as art.
It's like the bridge to nowhere.
Well, it's considered art, where everybody can go just sit on stairs. And I just sit there going, that money, because the city complains about not having enough money for the police, for emergency, and they're spending it on stairs.
Yeah, or to take care of the homeless.
Oh, exactly.
Or any veterans cause.
They're putting their money because they're trying to attract business when their tax model is set up so obscurely that it's against businesses to come in. And I'm not going to get into the weeds about that, but it comes down to basically they tax companies before the government taxes.
Right, and Seattle's going through a lot of this right now with Amazon.
Yes,
there's a lot of pushback from Amazon. Amazon actually halted construction on an office. I think it's an office center in Seattle because of taxes.
Yes, and where I'm at, Amazon was actually gave a bunch of places a chance, and a bunch of companies have moved away from the main city where I live, or by where I live, and they're moving out to where I live and even further out away from the main city because of the way the tax structures are set up.
Boeing got out of Seattle.
Yes.
And of all places, they went to Chicago. But
not just Chicago, they actually went down to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because of the unions.
That's true. The company I work for actually branched their I'm in an engineering field, and we engineers are here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but our manufacturing facility has changed from Fort Worth to Amarillo, where there is no union.
and see, that's the biggest problem that's going on, is the big cities are getting to the point now where nobody can live in them and be guaranteed that they're going to have a roof over their head, because they can't afford it. It's getting to that point where everybody sits there and says, oh, the place to go is the big city. That's where all the culture is. Yeah, you've cultured yourself out of business, because culture costs money that goes towards excessive entertainment rather than putting it towards the things that actually you should be putting it towards, like police, emergency service, maybe keeping your taxes down lower.
You know, the arts are awesome, and they're beautiful, but really,
well,
you've got a pocket of money, and it's finite. It's not infinite. There is a bottom to that pocket,
and that's what. And I people will sit there and say that I must be a hardcore conservative, and people, I'm really not. Excuse me, I'm more of a common sense person. But I'm gonna talk about one thing that happened, and I'm hoping Trump does this. Back in the Reagan years, Ronald Reagan, as part of his cleanup plan, started going through the government during his second term, and he actually started taking care of overlap where you had offices that were redundant with each other. And he also...
Consolidation.
Yes. And he took away money that was going to the liberal arts. And people say, oh, no. And he said, no. If the liberal arts, if you can't support yourself, then you don't belong. And the liberal arts took a hit. And I remember a lot of the political cartoons and everything they had like ballerinas on the corner dancing for quarters like a monkey. And I remember stuff like that. And you look back at that, the thing was, it held true. It actually cleaned out a lot of the arts that didn't belong. A lot of artists that didn't necessarily belong. Just saying. That's my 2 cents. I'll leave it at that, because I know we're getting to the top of the hour, which means it's time to clean house.
Yes, and I really, 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 let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, really, 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 really hope that you have our upcoming guest, because the only one that I have is OPSEC Monkey.
I actually do.
Outstanding.
Okay, so for the 1st of June, this Friday, is OPSEC Monkey swinging in through on a cable to give the nation updates on all the latest in technology, security, and some OPSEC tips, maybe some crypto news. Then comes the 8th of June, Friday. We'll see from Veterans of Comedy. The Veterans of Comedy is a group of military veterans and veteran comedians who have chosen to represent and support talented veterans who desire to share their gifts with the world.
Funny stuff.
Yes. Whether it's performing for troops on military bases across the world or giving back to the veterans community, showcasing those dedicated to represent warriors worldwide, or just offering special events to bring that unique style of entertainment forged through years of military service. The Veterans of Comedy brings veteran comedians to the front lines of the entertainment stage. Will C. is a veteran of the United States Air Force, United States Marine Corps, and the United States Army Reserve. He is originally from Kansas City, Missouri, now makes his home in Los Angeles, California. Well, we'll forgive him.
Kansas City is a great place to be, because they got War Horses for Veterans there, which is one of our sponsors.
He has been seen on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, Storage Hunters, Mom, and Blockbusters, Hail, Caesar, and Gone Girl. Will has been heard on MX and Sirius, or XM, and Sirius. The Bob and Tom Show, National Lampoon Radio, and All Comedy Radio.
Sweet.
And then we have the 11th of June, Monday, Chris White and Bob Heinlein from Freedom Heart. Freedom Heart Inc. was founded in 2017, veteran-owned and veteran-operated, based out of Texas. Their mission is to use humor as a platform to display patriotism, and their tagline is, it's not if you freedom, but now hard. Their vision, a never-ending ripple of positivity and patriotism. When people see our brand, it triggers positive thoughts in their mind, a smile on their face, and pride in their heart. Freedom Hard. Freedom Hard is unique brand in that it focuses attention on love, support, and defense of our country of origin, and can be applied all over the world, no matter which country an individual is from.
Hell yeah.
And then our last guest that we have thus far is 12 June, Tuesday, Joanne Mendoza. United States Marine Corps and Navy veteran, Joanne Mendoza is now currently an author, advocate, and speaker. She's enlisted in the Navy when she graduated high school for a one-term enlistment. In 1999, she joined the United States Marine Corps. In the United States Marine Corps, she became a drill instructor at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina, where she had the opportunity to transform young women into, into United States Marines. She also served at Marine Officer Candidate School in Quantico, Virginia, as a sergeant instructor, transforming women into Marine officers. In 2017, she released her first book titled Esprit de Corps, Guiding Principles and Spirituality for Modern Marine Teams. She is currently a military and veteran advisor for Pima Community College, and has been advocating raising money to combat homelessness among female veterans. In 2018, she competed in the Ms. Veteran America competition.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah. Her current goal is to continue a life of service to our great nation by continuing to make a difference in people's lives and combating female veteran homelessness. And that is our lineup for until the 12th of June.
You know, we at nighttime we've got shows 6 nights a week, but we've actually got 7 shows. Let me see. On Monday we have the Monday edition with Ice and Flash, and I'm thinking Ice is going to have a pretty badass show tomorrow in honor of Memorial Day on Tuesday. We have Tied Up Tuesday with Minx and Pookie. Wednesday, we don't really have a show here, but if you go to WTF Nation Gaming, Hodor and KJ play games, and they've been playing a lot of Rainbow Six lately, but who knows what they're going to have going on this Wednesday. On Thursday, we have Sergeant's Time, again with Ice and Doc Madness and some of the main page folks. Let me see, on Friday, we have Friday Night Freedom with Minx and Pookie, and that is always a great time. On Saturday, Pookie is back on the air. He's kind of like a radio whore.
Yeah, he is.
Because Pookie is back on with Jay ready for Saturday Night Savagery, and then on Sunday, we're right back here kicking it with Kaz. I'm gonna let you know when I do sign for this house and give hundreds of thousands of dollars to a bank. Or to be indebted to a bank for this structure that I'm going to live in,
Signing that paper.
I'm probably going to take some time off. So there might be a week or two where either I don't have internet access or I haven't moved. But do not fear. I will be back with Mr. Owl. And thank you all for hanging out, man. Enjoy your long weekend. Have some restful sleep. I love each and every one of you.
We love you.
please check us out, man. If you haven't, give us a like on our Facebook page. Follow us on Mixer. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on every platform.
You name it, it's out there.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Remember our fallen brothers tomorrow and sisters. And
be safe. Remember, it's fallen brothers and sisters. Don't get so caught up in the sadness of who we lost to remember that it's okay to be you too.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. We're out of here. Thank you all for being here. Fuck yeah. Love y'all. Bye.
Shot.
Did you make a wish? Yeah. What'd you wish for?
I went for big movies.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
For the truth is that Team America fights for the billion-dollar corporations. They are just as bad as the enemies they fight. Oh, no, we aren't. We're dicks.
This is WTF Nation. This is WTF Nation Radio.